Welcome, Planeteers, to another X-Planet video. And this time around, we are going to be doing a Born of the Gods spoiler. And with me today...
Sebastian Barros.
Relax, man. No one watches this channel. And my name is Lionel Miranda. And we're going to start off with white. And the take we're going to give today is basically from the EDH perspective. See what cards are burning hot and recommend to you that you should put in your EDH decks and what have you. So the very first card we're going to start off with is Acolyte's Reward. Now, Acolyte's Reward is just a solid meh card. It really doesn't really do much for EDH. Prevent the next X damage that would be dealt to target creature this turn, where X is your devotion to white. If damage is prevented this way, Acolyte's Reward deals that much damage to target creature or player. If it actually reversed the damage that the player took, it'd be really good. It probably wouldn't be an uncommon at that point. Mono-colored decks with that kind of devotion, saying, you know what, I'm not taking this, and now you're eating the damage. That would be pretty sweet for 2 mana. But unfortunately, they thought ahead. Well, fortunately, I guess. And if you're going to use this kind of thing, I would much prefer Divine Reflection. It's a white X. You just reverse damage from everything. And you're just going to tell me that you wouldn't use this card anyway.
Pretty much. What I was going to say was that it's kind of counterintuitive to the fact that it reduces the damage to target creature based on your devotion to white. At that point, you have a board presence. So the value of this card decreases even more. Like, I just don't understand this card at all.
I don't know if it's good in any format, but there it is. The artwork is cool. And
yes.
What's his name? Slawomir. I'm butchering your name, buddy. Maniac. His last name is Maniac. Maniac! Did an amazing piece of artwork. He just got attached to really lousy rules. Alright, so now let's go to the next card.
Akroan Phalanx. So this card's a 4-mana 3/3 human soldier. Has Vigilance, which is a little relevant. For 3 mana, 1 being a red, and 2 colorless. Creatures you control get +1 and +0 until end of turn. Again, another mech card. This card in token generating decks, not bad.
You're reading my notes.
No.
Don't lie to me.
The activation cost of it, a little expensive. 4 mana for a 3/3 in EDH is kind of another meh.
Yeah.
The quote is also pretty bad. That's about it. Art's alright.
It kind of gave you a hint of how useful it is with all the people like crowded on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you think you're going to do something with a lot of tokens,
yeah.
it does have some sort of redeeming quality. Yeah. The fact that it's a red and 2 and a colon means you can pump it multiple times. And if you even add +2 to all creatures you control, that could be significant if you're doing tokens. Yeah. So if you're doing something like maybe a Jor Kadeen, Tajik, kind of like a Voltron and token type of style deck, it could be something. I just don't see it making into many decks though.
It's also the fact that it's white-red combination is not that efficient at mana as well. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's a finisher. You have to have open mana ready for it to go, essentially.
We can talk about that later. We're going to do a little review on Yosa, and I can show you how white can ramp. Alright, anyway. Let's go to Akroan Skyguard. Akroan? Sure, we call it Akroan. It's 2 mana for a 1/1 flyer, so average. Really nothing spectacular about that. It's heroic, so whenever you cast a spell that targets the Akroan Skyguard, put a +1/+1 counter on the Akroan Skyguard. It puts a counter instead of just a regular +1/+1, so I guess that's kind of good. Maybe if you're playing some, small mortal game like Standard, you'd want this card. I don't know. I really don't. The best thing about this card is the quote. The quote's amazing. So we'll go back to the artwork. So we're going to flash the artwork right now. And the quote is, "Trust me, when you have earned the god's favor, you'll know it." So that looks amazing. So here's a guy with giant glowing wings. No two ways about it. That's about as good as that card gets.
Yep.
Moving on.
So, the Archetype of Courage. 2/2 human soldier. It is an enchantment creature for 3 mana. And it grants your creatures first strike, as well as your opponents lose first strike.
Yeah.
So that can be quite relevant, in fact, especially in any kind of token generating deck, or even if you have big white beaters, for that fact. First Strike is a relevant thing, especially in EDH, with a lot of more fatties out there and higher mana costing creatures.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're doing some sort of token generation deck and you have this guy out, having 10 tokens out is definitely going to mean most people are going to attack you on the ground. Possibly this guy if you have flyers. Because having First Strike, just applying little 10/1/1s with First Strike is a big deal when
you can block.
When you can block. Yeah. And just goes, First Strike, you're dead. Hasta luego.
I still have my tokens.
Artworks looks pretty cool too.
Yep.
Yeah, alright, whatever. Moving on. We go to Brimaz, King of Oreskos. Could be Kos as well, but whatever. It's 3 mana for a 3/4 that's vigilant. Okay, that's a house. I mean, in limited and standard, this thing's going to be an absolute monster. Now, the reason why I mentioned those other 2 formats is because in EDH, it is not a monster. Simply because its ability is okay in EDH. And its abilities are, whenever Brimaz, King of Oreskos, attacks, put a 1/1 White Cat Soldier token with Vigilance onto the battlefield attacking. And it happens again when he blocks. So yeah, that's not bad. Kind of weird that they're 1/1 cats. Cats are usually 2/2, but of course, if they were 2/2 cats,
it'd be pretty busted.
It would be completely and absolute busted. It would just be the white would dominate.
It's 3 mana for 5 power, which is pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. So you want this card in your EDH deck. It's not horrible, but if you're gonna do that, maybe in again some sort of Voltron deck, token generation deck. Kemba, you can use a mono white Kemba who Voltrons with a whole bunch of swords, and when she dies, you can put the swords on this guy and then have him swing, generate a few counters, what have you. You could do it with Drakadine, basically the same thing. He Voltrons as well. Tajik, Tajik pretty much is the token. Like, I don't think there's another way to play him. Oh, well, and Voltron. Voltron. And there it is. So awesome for limited, and oh god, it's a house and limited.
I like the artwork too.
The artwork is pretty snazzy.
Yeah, it's pretty well done.
It's a cat, and I like cat.
Yep, cat's cool.
Cat's cool.
So next card we're talking about is Dawn to Dusk, 4 mana sorcery, uncommon. So choose one or both. Return target enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand, or destroy target enchantment. Now this card is pretty interesting. Obviously, it's relevant to the set. In EDH, I'd say it's playable. It's definitely a playable, solid card.
You reading my notes again? Is that what you're doing? Because you don't know what to say.
Stop. What is this? So basically, this is a card that you would kind of put in an EDH deck, right? I mean,
why, Boros?
Well, if you're running enchantments,
Yeah.
if you want to Voltron your general enchantments, such as Sigarda, the flexibility is kind of nice.
Flexibility is really nice. The flexibility of targeting allows you to go, hey, you know what? There's only one. I can only do one thing and still be able to cast a spell, instead of having to do 2 relevant targets. It's flexible that way. So no, very cool.
Also, there are cards like Return to Dust, for example, that kind of outshine this card in a sense that it is instant speed and it can possibly target 2 enchantments or artifacts and exile them, but
doesn't regrow.
Yeah, it doesn't regrow.
It doesn't regrow, but there it is.
Okay.
All right, next card we have is Adillion of the Countless Battles. 3 mana for 0/0. I know. It has a bestow cost of 4. And basically what this does, is Adillion Countless Battles and the enchanted creature get +1/+1 for each creature you control, and a +1/+1 for every aura you control. The bestow cost is extremely reasonable. 4 mana is not an issue at all in EDH. My thing, I would suggest possibly entertain thoughts of putting in a Sigarda deck, especially Sigarda Enchantment Voltron, where the 2 colors, green and white, lend itself huge to that, and you can bring it back.
It'd be pretty decent in a Tristani deck as well.
If you go that route. If you go that route.
Because you also put in green, white enchantments pretty strong. Elite Skirmisher, 3 mana, 3/1. Heroic, whenever you cast a spell that targets Elite Skirmisher, you may tap this creature. Or tap target creature, sorry. It's pretty relevant, EDH. Would not do anything. Next.
What it's really good at is keeping rings of moisture off of your table.
Yeah.
Alright, next. Ephra's Radiance. Again, It's common, so commons are going to have a hard time squeezing a spot into an EDH deck. This might be a possibility in life gain theme decks, but I just don't see it being relevant enough in EDH. 3 life just isn't enough. It's enchant creature. Enchant creature has one colorless and 1 white. Tap, you gain 3 life.
Yeah. Meh.
Go.
Excoriate. 4 mana sorcery. Exile target tap creature. Why would you need this when you have swords, path? Like, it's just.
It'd have been salvageable if maybe it was an instant.
I understand why they printed it, for the fact that there's a lot of inspiration mechanics nowadays, but you know.
Yeah, it's definitely for limited and what have you.
Yeah.
Fated Retribution, I think, is a very solid card. 7 mana, destroy all creatures and planeswalkers. If it's your turn, it's a scry 2. What do you mean it's your turn? You can do that as an instant speed, which is pretty.
It's the only
pretty darn good.
Second instant speed, I think.
Well, there's route. There's that you can do on another player's turn. If you pay extra.
That's the only one, right? Like,
I can't really think of any others.
Like Cyclonic Rift, I guess. But
yeah, it's kind of like a board wipe-ish kind of card. Fair enough. The Scry is nice. Definitely a card I think would squeeze into any deck that had white. Definitely. EDH deck, sorry. That had white. Sure.
So the next card we're going to talk about is the Ghost Blade Eidolon. 3 mana, 1/1. Bestow for 6. Double strike. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 as double strike. This card, bestowing for 6 mana, like, that's not really a problem in EDH, but the fact that it doesn't do much is kind of...
It's horrible. It's a horrible card. It's another beer coaster type card. If you're going 6 mana, you're probably going to do True Conviction.
Yeah, exactly. To give all your creatures double strike, lifelink.
And lifelink, yeah. Glimpse of the God. You know what? Myself and Boros have different takes on this card. I think it's actually a all-right card because it's an instant. It makes it solid. The Scry is nice as well. It's Scry 1. So it's instant speed, white X, tap X target creatures. So it's not bad. Where I think his point, I think he's probably going to make, it's a defensive card.
Yeah.
So,
It gives white an option to react to something, but fitting this into an EDH deck is really kind of hard.
Yeah, I'd have a hard time figuring out what I would carve out to put this in.
Yeah. So, our next card is God Favored General, 2 mana, 1/1. Inspired. Whenever God Favored General becomes untapped, you may pay 2 colorless, 1 white. If you do, put 2 1/1 white soldier enchantment creature tokens onto the battlefield. This card, oh man, this card is just not good. For 3 mana, you get 2 1/1s, which is 3 power, but the fact that he has to make it through on turn 2 to put 2 1/1s is really weak for 3 mana. It just doesn't have any factor
any
whatsoever.
Format
in EDH.
you could think of?
I played it in limited, and man, it didn't work out. Trust me.
Yeah. All right, now we get to the Great Heart.
Next.
I'm not going to really spend much time on this Great Heart. It's a beer coaster card, definitely. Boros has a theory involving color text, but we'll talk about that maybe
later.
All right, fair enough. And then we got
the Griffin Dreamfinder, 3 mana. 3 colorless, 2 white mana, 1/4 flyer. When he enters the battlefield, return target enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. This card, I feel like it could have been so much better. Like, why can't they just make it into the battlefield? I don't know.
That would have been nuts.
Oh, man.
That would have been nuts. That's another card.
Yeah.
That's another card. 5 mana for 1/4 is...
Yeah.
Hero of Iris.
2
mana for 2/2, or aura spells you cast cost 1 less to cast.
Interesting.
He's got the heroic mechanic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets the Hero of Iris, put a +1/+1 counter on the Hero of Iris. EDH, okay. It might be a thing in standard. Maybe Boros will be maybe come back in standard, but EDH, meh.
And EDH, his power and toughness is irrelevant as well. It's just he could be a 1/1 for all I care. Hold at bay. 2 mana instant speed. Prevent the next 7 damage that will be dealt to target creature or player this turn. We've seen these kind of cards before. Might as well play Fog. Next.
Yeah, no kidding. And there's Fog effects in white if you want to do that. Loyal Pegasus, 1 white for 2/1. Loyal Pegasus can't attack or block alone.
The name is fitting.
Okay.
The name is
moving
fitting. On. Next card. Mortal's Arbor. A 1 mana instant speed that target creature gets +1/+1 and gains lifelink until end of turn. It's hard to justify putting an instant like this in an EDH deck when there's no way to recur it.
Well, Yeah, in those colors. I mean, you could recur it if you're doing white-green, I suppose, but...
Instant speed? An instant?
Yeah, regrowth.
Instant? You're going to regrowth?
You're not going to regrowth.
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
You're not going to regrowth that. Nyxborn Shieldmate. It's one of those enchantment creatures. It's 1 white, 1/2. It has a bestow cost of 3. Not bad. Bestow cost. Enchanted creature gets +1/+2. And that's it. Next. That doesn't really do much.
Yeah. Oresco Sun Guide. So 2 mana, 2/2. Cat Monk. Inspired. Whenever I can't say this. Oresco's Sun Guide becomes untapped, you gain 2 life. Mediocre.
Yeah, not a really powerful effect in the format. Oh wow. Ornithark. Yeah, sure. Ornithark. It's a 5 mana for a 3/3 flyer. It has tribute 2. So basically, if your opponent does not pay the tribute,
which is pay to put 2
+1/+1 counters on it, he gets 2 1/1 white birds. I can only think of one reason why you take this card. It flies, and in green where you can
produce
token magnifiers, but I just don't see this making it into any decks.
Yeah. Plea for Guidance. 6 mana, rare sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 enchantment cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. So it's an idyllic tutor times 2. Remember, it can search up enchantment creatures now, since that's a thing.
Yep.
Which can be pretty relevant.
Yep.
And any kind of Voltron deck. Good card. It's a good
Voltron enchantments.
I play it.
It's a good card. Then we get to the Silent Sentinel. You would have got this for your, I guess, pardon me. You would have got this for your pre-release as a foil promo. It's 7 mana for 4/6. It flies. But the money about it is when it does attack, you get to pull an enchantment from your grave into play. Yeah. And that is a really, really big effect. There's not really many things that do that. Yeah. Right now, it escapes me. I know out of all 10,000 billion Magic cards, there probably is something that does that. I can't think of any at the moment. The downside, kind of. The downside is you have to wait a turn.
Yeah. Next card, Revoke Existence. This is a reprint from Scars. 2 mana, sorcery, exile target artifact or enchantment. Solid card. Probably wouldn't,
that makes sense to my EDH decks every once in a while. Yeah. And then the money. The money card. The money card is Spirit of the Labyrinth.
Yeah, this card's pretty nuts.
Holy cow. Okay, so not so much for EDH. Well, I shouldn't say not so much for EDH, because that's wrong. Because it's really good in EDH as well. It's 2 mana for a 3/1. Each player can't draw more than 1 card each turn. Is an amazing ability. This thing is an amazing legacy card. I honestly think this thing's going to go skyrocket in price. We've already tested. I've talked to a few customers that have tested on their legacy decks. Absolutely brutal. Amazing, I think, in EDH, especially if you're playing mono white or what have you that doesn't draw a lot, because it doesn't really screw you up that much. And it kind of controls everyone else. So, definitely. Awesome card.
Next card, Sunbound, 4 mana enchantment aura. Enchanted creature has whenever you gain life, put that many +1/+1 counters on this creature. Meh. All in card. I don't know. Not worth a slot.
No. Vanguard of Brimaz. Vanguard of Brimaz is 2 mana for 2/2 Vigilance. Not bad. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Vanguard of Brimaz, put a 1/1 white cat soldier creature token with Vigilance onto the battlefield.
It's a solid card.
Yeah, it's a solid card in Limited.
Yeah.
It's a solid card in possibly Standard.
Yeah.
Meh in EDH. Too many things to make it work. And then when you work, you produce a 1/1.
I find that's the trouble with Heroic, essentially.
Yeah. All right, so that is the review of the white cards for EDH. Stay tuned next. We're going to dive into blue.